Right, it is cooking season. In 15 minutes or less, we need to talk about stupidity because Max Verstappen put you, me and everybody on game, did he not? He told us going into the Chinese Grand Prix weekend, post the Japanese Grand Prix, that it was a daft idea to have a sprint race weekend at a track that we haven't been to in absolutely ages. He pointed the finger quite rightfully at the FIA, and we rocked up to this Grand Prix not knowing that they've resurfaced it. Brand new bitumen, fire at the side of the track. The FIA are competent ad infinitum, and I've had enough. That's what's stupid, Madeline. That's what's daft. The FIA is stupid, and we saw it in sprint race qualifying this race weekend when Lando Norris had a time deleted. Lewis Hamilton fans all around the world rejoiced, only for the FIA to realise once again VAR settings that they'd made a mistake. What they needed to do was reinstate Lando Norris's lap. He indeed then was on the pole. F1 fans around the world do one of these. I don't know my left from my right. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm watching to see the ultimate outcome of the sprint race quali, the shootout. You told me, my metrics showed me that it was Lewis Hamilton, but it was not. Again, mismanagement of expectations of the highest extreme. Max Verstappen was right post the Japanese Grand Prix, not necessarily about the sprint race format, but about the FIA. They are stupid. They have been stupid. They do stupid things. How can you separate the two, right? Nouns and verbs. If you do stupid things, then are you not stupid? If you have been doing stupid things, then you are daft. There is no other word to leverage, and the FIA have been doing that. This, indeed, was a weekend of stupidity. Should we talk about Lance Stroll? And again, everybody makes mistakes. Lance Stroll did a thing. He was looking to the right when he should have been looking straight. Ended up mounting Danny Rick like he was an animal in the wild, for Pete's sake. Can we talk about that for a second? And anybody can make a mistake. Spatial awareness errors happen, whether that's on the road or in motorsport, notwithstanding the fact that these guys are meant to be the top 20 drivers in the world. Potentially, you want to argue that he shouldn't be making that mistake under safety car conditions. Reminiscent of one George Russell non-brake test by Fernando Alonso at Australia a couple weekends ago, right? What are you doing over here? Why aren't you looking front and centre? Surely that's the first priority order thing, to make sure you don't crash into the person in front. Lance Stroll does that, mounts Danny Rick like a rhino in the bloody wild. What are we doing here? Completely destroys Danny Rick, who, by the way, wasn't having the best weekend of his life. Super under pressure by Helmut Marko. All talk of that second Red Bull seat for Danny Rick has completely gone out the window. But I digress, because I need to put the lens of focus on Lance Stroll for a second. For me, it's not the fact that he made the mistake, the spatial awareness things, that happens. It's his attitude post-race. And if ever you wanted proof positive that Lance Stroll, that he is being pressured by Papa Stroll, that Papa Stroll is living vicariously through his son, then that is it. Because his reaction, I think Lance Stroll is tired of all this, I don't think he can be bothered. Being honest with you, chat, Hassan, I don't think he can be asked with this. He wants to go and play tennis, doesn't he, with Rafa and Jocko. That's his bag. And I think by virtue of the reaction, the laissez-faire, well, it was Danny Rick, what's he doing? Always trying to blame somebody else, never owning his own SH1T. And if you have a problem, the first step to solving for that problem, whether it's competence or attitude or otherwise, is to admit that you have that problem. And then step two is to solve for it. Lance isn't even past the first step. He's walking his way through this F1 career, which is long, by the way. No longer is he a young pup. And he's doing one of these. No mea culpa. It's always the other guy's fault. How is it the other guy's fault, Lance? What are you doing? How are you making that mistake there? You are not George Russell, and this is not the Australian Grand Prix. The GOATs, the good ones, learn from their own mistakes. The great ones learn from other people's. Lance isn't even on that chart yet. He's walking around and he's blaming everybody. Oh, Danny Rick's a joker. And Danny Rick, by the way, lost his mind too, didn't he? Didn't hold any punches, pull any punches even when he was characterising Lance Stroll's mistake. What an absolute joker. NC Paddock, you're a legend. Absolute joke, man, is what Lance Stroll... He's becoming the running joke of... Listen, F1's supposed to be a meritocracy, you know. So have we got this situation at Aston Martin where Alonso's doing god tier things each and every single time? You can indeed make a case for Fernando Alonso being driver of the day today. You can make that case, but for a dodgy strategy, a soft compound stint in the middle of a race in anticipation of another safety car, Alonso would have been right up there as far as driver of the day voting. So why do we have this stark contrast? On one side of the grid, we've got one of the greatest drivers, a true warrior of a peddler in Fernando Alonso. You guys saw the bloody correction, showing Carlos Sainz how to correct for an error out the back, combined exit of turn 16. One of these... super quick, got out the accelerator, super quick. So why is he doing all this god tier stuff, overtaking Checo Perez around the outside of turn 1, and on the other side of the grid in stark contrast we have a Nepo baby, a chap that is benefiting on the back of his father's money, nothing else. It's ridiculous. NC Paddock, Lance Stroll is case in point of money can't buy talent, been in the sport since 2018 and has won no wins, 1 pole, 3 podiums. And NC Paddock, you're far too generous, bro. I thought Lance was doing one of these as far as his development curve, expediting for that. Very decent in the wet, as an example, as most of the god tier peddlers are owing to their god tier level feel. But then he just makes far too many unforced errors, doesn't he, each and every single time, and makes Fernando Alonso look like the god tier driver that he is. Let's talk about this dude. Again, you guys know that I've been a fan of Carlos Sainz Jr. Season to date, he's outperformed. I'm expecting him to push his teammate Charles Leclerc very close. However, this race weekend, we saw that Carlos Sainz Jr. is still fallible, has a cheeky unforced error, not least of which was turn 16 during qualifying. A typical Carlos Sainz Jr. mistake. Bloody thinks is his dad going through WRC again. Correct for that in real time, mate. As soon as you induce the oversteer, jump out the throttle, 100% opposite lock, correct for it. No, what does Carlos Sainz do? He does what Carlos Sainz 1.0 does, and he keeps his foot in the throttle. Of course you are on a qualifying lap, but mate, first priority, keep it out the barrier, chap, for Pete's sake. The first thing that you have to do after beating your teammate is bring the car back to your engineers in one piece. You didn't do that, Carlos Sainz. That's Carlos Sainz 1.0, reminiscent of a couple of years back. Those unforced error ones. I don't want to see that going forward from Carlos Sainz Jr. And a messy sprint shootout too. He was rattled by Fernando Alonso. He expected to just dismiss him, sweep his compatriot, his former mentor aside, and it didn't happen. And in my humble opinion, as far as Carlos Sainz Jr. is concerned, he was rattled for the rest of the race weekend. You saw him come out the car, completely dismissed Charles Leclerc and his race engineer. This is a weekend of acrimony between drivers, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton too. We will come to those guys in short order. Fernando Alonso needs to get some praise though. 42 years old, cat-like reactions on the combined exit from turn 16. He did everything he was supposed to do and everything his compatriot, the younger Carlos Sainz Jr. did not, to fix for that oversteer. That dude is a god tier level driver. We need to put some respect on his name. Did you see him around the outside in turn 1? Checo Perez didn't even see which way. And again, showing these young bucks, did exactly what Lando Norris tried and failed to do the previous day. Stuck it round the outside of the longest radius corner in motorsport history. He is incredible, is Fernando Alonso, making these young bucks look like they are rubbish, like they've never driven in the formula before. Put some respect on that chap's name. And again, but for that weird, I don't understand the soft compound stint in the middle of the race. I think they were anticipating, hoping for another safety car scenario, but we'd already got 2. I feel like that was Aston Martin, a combo of Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso being overly ambitious. And for that, and that only. I can't put him into the driver of the day category. Who I can put in the driver of the day category, however, is Lando Norris. God tier strat, God tier tyre management, did absolutely everything that he needed to do to outperform that McLaren. Lest we forget, when we arrived at the Chinese Grand Prix, the Shanghai International Circuit, McLaren had told us everybody thought that they would struggle. A car, a handling dynamic that excels in front limited tracks, you know, the likes of the fast flowy Silverstone, Maggots, Beckett's. China is not that. It is rear limited. Lots of long straights, lots of turns at which you got to jump on the brake pedal. This wasn't supposed to be McLaren's track. Oscar Piastri is testament to that. Struggled massively, notwithstanding his damage that he incurred partially through the race. But where was Lando? He did absolutely everything he needed to do. Managed the tyres perfectly, controlled. I even enjoyed the communication. My guy Peter Windsor spoke to it right. Managed to understeer Lando by using engine braking. No chance. Although I do feel there was a bit of youthful exuberance reminiscent of 2021 Sochi. If there is one criticism that we can leverage at Lando Norris today, he's got to work with his team, not against them. He can't be too arrogant in his good moments. Enhorabuena. I think Lando needs to take a humility will help him. Got to work with his team and stop the grandstanding. Again, lest he be doomed to repeat the mistakes of Sochi. Still, he's lacking a Grand Prix victory. And I think a driver as God tier as Lando, I think that speaks volumes. It's coming, Lando. Don't reach for it, chap. Don't let people lambast you and goad you into driving differently than how you would anyway. You are plenty good enough, sir. You will make it in the end. Just need to do what you did today, mate. Get your head down and crack on. Don't blinker. Don't look at what anybody else is doing. And sometimes I feel like Lando has the capacity to be overly self-critical. And that's hindered him. Work with the team, not against them. Stay in your lane, son, and you will crack on, God tier. What happened to all these people that said that Oscar Piastri was going to nail Lando Norris? Where are those? Where are they? They're not so loud anymore, are they? Everybody thought, listen, Shezza the shakedown. Even me, to a certain extent, I thought Oscar was going to cause Lando trouble. No. Put some respect on Lando Norris's name. Let's talk about Mercedes very quickly, because I don't know what's going on over there. It's nonsense. They don't know what's going on. And I've got to take aim at Toto. Well, Lewis, I'm going to take aim at Toto and Colt LH, because both of them are getting on my nerves equally. They deserve each other at the moment. I'm not talking about your straight down the line, rational minded Colt LH. I'm talking about the fundamentalists, because each and every single time they want to leverage this thing. It's the team. The team sabotage Lewis. Why have they given in this rubbish car? Listen, as fans, we need to really... This thing is a moving target, right? What Mercedes fans need to realise is that we need to recalibrate our expectations for Pete's sake. That's what needs to happen here. Christian Horner said it best, when talking about Toto Wolff, that Mercedes are the third team behind their customers at the moment. So we'll think Toto's time will be better spent focusing on the team rather than trying to poach Max Verstappen. And I know that Christian Horner was saying that very firmly, tongue-in-cheek. However, he is absolutely right. In wartime, what are you going to focus on, Toto? As team principal? How about you try and right this ship rather than do this grandstanding thing in front of the world press and media? Nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. It's not good enough. The sound bites aren't help. They're not edifying even. I see Lewis Hamilton nail a second place owing to changeable conditions, and then the camera flicks to the Mercedes garage. Every single one of them, to a man, is clapping, apart from Toto Wolff. What does that tell you? And again, maybe you can chalk that up to cultural differences. Potentially Toto, ever the stoic, just didn't want to celebrate these small victories, potentially. But then you get the tidbit from Toto Wolff where he's talking about the setups. And again, the setup was controversial, right? Because Lewis had a decent sprint race, but again, he's gone left and he's gone over exuberant with changes and taken time off the car, taken it backwards as opposed to improve it. To that, Toto Wolff says, you know what? Listen, drivers aren't as important as engineers when you're trying to fix for a car. Well, you're saying that in the context of Lewis Hamilton leaving for Scuderia Ferrari. There is a time and place, Toto Wolff, for Pete's sake. Why are you saying that now? And again, I can't help but get animated and go scorched earth Cameron when I'm talking about these, because I don't understand. Now is the time to rally the troops as a team principle. Not to tread on Lewis Hamilton's legacy. Why are we talking like that? You understand, Toto, you are a brilliant mind, a billionaire, a pioneer as far as Mercedes and their advertising value, etc., etc. So why are we saying these things at this time? We know that Adrian Newey is the gem in the Red Bull crap. If you're going to keep one, absolutely you will keep Adrian Newey over a Max Verstappen. He's more important. Having a fast car is first priority order importance. Absolutely. However, with Lewis Hamilton leaving, why are you talking like this now, Toto Wolff? It makes zero sense. Non-rhetorical question, chat. Why are we talking like this, Toto Wolff? Every time he opens his mouth, I become more discouraged. And so too will the team if I were a betting man. Can you imagine Lewis? Lewis, on the back of the sprint race, on the back of qualifying even, a poor dismal qualifying, was like, you know what? It is what it is. Sometimes you got to laugh and smile your way through these things. Did you see he cut a forlorn figure after the race today though? He looked sad about life, for Pete's sake. But I digress. Mercedes are now slower than their works team per Christian Horner, or customer teams even. Aston Martin. Oh, here's little man. Aston Martin too. And bloody McLaren. What are we doing, Mercedes? Is this where we are now? You have, listen, you've made mistakes, lots of them. You need to turn around this ship. The responsibility is on you, Toto Wolff, to right this. Find the North Star of Mercedes. But then maybe it's true, the criticism that people have leveraged at Mercedes. Maybe Toto Wolff is a fair weather team principal. Maybe Lewis Hamilton is a fair weather driver. I don't know. And Colt LH, for the avoidance of doubt, need to take 2 seats, man. I'm not having it. It can't always be just Mercedes' fault. Lewis is dialed out. He's got to take some criticism too, for crying out loud. I am done with the whole Mercedes circumstance. What do you mean? If you don't love me at my worst, you don't deserve to love me at my best. Go away, Mercedes. Go home, Toto Wolff. Get away with your Lewis and George.